PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single game during the 2023-2024 season, we're going to be discussing the most recent matchup that happened as your Vegas Golden Knights took on the Detroit Red Wings here at T-Mobile Arena at the Fortress in Las Vegas. And this was a really good game for Vegas. There was a lot of good back and forth. And more importantly, there was a player who did accomplish something that we are going to sing his praises for because he did a fantastic job. So we're going to cover all of that. We're going to do everything here on this show of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. Before you do, go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, and check out all of the fantastic content we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on here, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So go to PRConnectionsRadio.com and support the network. If you also go to the YouTube channel at PR Connections, that would help out the network greatly. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on all social media platforms at PR Connections or at Vegas Hockey Hub. And I also will say for anyone who is watching Vegas Hockey Hub, we do live streams, we do live reactions. We're doing our Vegas Hockey Hub recap show, which we're doing here right now, today. And we also have our social media platforms where we upload our content and events that we are going to on the behalf of Vegas Hockey Hub. And then lastly, if you want to follow your host at Ian J. Rickelli, I am on all major platforms as well at Ian J. Rickelli. I also upload articles to thesportsangle.com. I upload hockey articles to their website. So go to www.thesportsangle.com. If you want to read my articles, that would appreciate your host greatly. Now, getting into this game, breaking down what happened here, Vegas Golden Knights, Detroit Red Wings. I mean, this was such a really good game to watch. One of the best games that we've been able to watch all year long. But we have some business to attend to. During the Vancouver Canucks recap show that we did previously, I mentioned that if there was any other move, okay, if there was any blockbuster trade involving your Vegas Golden Knights, I would announce it here on the next edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. And you know what happened? We had a blockbuster trade. We had a monumental trade for your Vegas Golden Knights. As thanks to a bunch of people at TSN, Sportsnet, ESPN, Cap Friendly, everyone who did source this and prove that this was actually a trade, with about 10 minutes left in the 2024 NHL trade deadline, the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights, division rivals, a fierce rivalry when the Vegas Golden Knights first got started, they made a trade that will impact your Vegas Golden Knights for the next 5 seasons. So it was reported that the San Jose Sharks would trade longtime San Jose Shark Tomas Hertl to the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Vegas Golden Knights would have to give up a package deal in order to make this happen. Now, what was the reality of this is actually quite interesting, and I'm going to use capfriendly.com as my source for this one, because whenever I break down stuff, I like to use sources to back this up. So according to Cap Friendly, the trade with Tomas Hertl goes down like this. So the Vegas Golden Knights, they acquire Tomas Hertl. They take his cap hit and everything there. But here's what would happen for San Jose. Here's what they would acquire in that deal. So the San Jose Sharks getting back from the Tomas Hertl deal, they would get former first-round pick, David Edstrom. Now, David Edstrom, he was a 2023 first-round pick by Vegas. He was the number 2 ranked prospect in the Golden Knights system heading into the trade deadline. Now, this guy is going to be a stud someday, and he does have potential to grow into an NHLer. But let's just face reality. If you were going to get a guy like Hertl, you would have to give up your top prospect in Cormier or your number 2 prospect in Edstrom to make the deal happen. So Cormier stays, Edstrom goes. He's not even in North America yet, so he probably will have to leave and go to these states and play for the Sharks eventually down the line. And the Vegas Golden Knights would actually do a pick swap as well, as the Vegas Golden Knights would get 2 third-round picks in 2025 and 2027, and the San Jose Sharks would get a 2025 first-round pick from Vegas. So overall, the Vegas Golden Knights, they end up getting Tomas Hertl with a $6.75 million cap hit and 2 third-round picks. San Jose Sharks, they get a number 2 prospect and a former first-round pick in David Edstrom, plus a 2025 first-round pick. Now, obviously, it's going to be in the future, and time will tell how good this trade goes for Edstrom, that first-round pick, what ends up happening there. But based off of what we know now with your Vegas Golden Knights, Tomas Hertl will be in Vegas for the next 5 years. And because he will be in Vegas for the next 5 years, Vegas had to give up a first-round pick and a prospect in order to get that deal done. All right, this wasn't a rental situation like Anthony Mantha. This isn't a supposed sign-and-trade like Noah Hanifin, because that's in the works right now. I know Noah Hanifin hasn't signed a contract yet, but he is working on it. So this is why you had to give up a first-round pick, and you had to give up a top prospect and a former first-round pick in David Edstrom. So I will say for Tomas Hertl, now this was reported by TSN that Tomas Hertl is still injured. He has not played since January, and he is not slated to come back for your Vegas Golden Knights until maybe at best the middle of April. So it'll be interesting to see if Hertl does in fact play for your Vegas Golden Knights. There is no timetable. I'm not going to speculate here on this show. All I will say for you is that when it comes to Hertl, this is a guy who, like I said, for the next 5 years is going to be a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. This is someone who has, thanks to Cap Friendly, a no movement clause at this situation. So this is a guy who has a no movement clause. He had to agree to get dealt from San Jose to Vegas. And it's going to be really interesting and really overall to evolve and see how Hertl does, because this is going to be a middle 6 forward in Vegas for sure. He'll probably be along the same lines as what William Karlsson's doing, Pavel Dorofeev, Chandler Stevenson. Since this is a long-term, Mark Stone as well. The middle 6 just got better thanks to having Tomas Hertl get brought in to your Vegas Golden Knights. So really good trade with about 10 minutes left in the trade deadline. How crazy it is. And more importantly, and what shocked your host, Ian Rickelli, is that I was reading CBS Sports, right? I'm going through Twitter. I'm going through my timeline. And there was rumblings about it. I mean, you had Frank Seravalli. He was kind of rumoring about it. You had Elliot Friedman. He was kind of briefly talking about it. But considering how limited amount of time was left at the trade deadline, you really didn't see this happening. For reference, by the way, I was in California when this trade happened. Okay, I was in California actually over the past couple of days. And when it comes to the Tomas Hertl situation, I'm just coming back from California. I'm driving back, and I got the notification. It was just absolutely crazy, the thing with Tomas Hertl. So I will say, when it comes to a guy like Hertl, welcome to the Vegas Golden Knights. David Edstrom, I think you're going to be a good player someday, but it's going to have to be in San Jose. That first-round pick, I'm hoping for our sake that it is a late first-round pick that goes to San Jose. So I will say, to begin this show, Tomas Hertl, welcome to the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is somebody that I really look at and say this is going to be a key factor, a really good player for Vegas to have until 2028, 2029, and someone who the Vegas Golden Knights can depend on in the future moving forward. I do have to mention, by the way, this is a personal opinion, but considering all the years in San Jose, it's going to take a while for him to eventually become normal with the Golden Knights. Now, the pregame notes, Brendan Brisson was recalled from Henderson. So because of all the roster moves and because of all the stuff that happened this morning, Brennan Bryson, he got the call very quickly, sent up from the AHL to be with the Vegas Golden Knights, to be on the NHL roster. And when you actually sit here and analyze what the starting lineup was for your Vegas Golden Knights, and don't worry, I will go over the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights before we actually get down to the game itself. But Brennan Bryson, you really study him and you actually look at what he can do in the lineup. He will be somebody who will be on the fourth line in this game. So Brennan Bryson, him getting called up, he's had a cup of coffee. He's played a certain amount of games this year in the NHL. And because of his contract currently, he can be sent up and sent down with Vegas. Now, Byron Froese being sent down to Henderson, it was a little bit of a surprise, I will be honest with you, because Byron Froese, the fact that you did have Brennan Bryson getting called up, it did mean that there was going to have to be a center that would be available at that point. And with Byron Froese being a career AHLer, it really told you that they are going to have the center position kind of be at a certain point with this game. So Brennan Bryson, him getting called up, Byron Froese, him being called down to Henderson, going back to the AHL, where he's been for a majority of his career in professional hockey. And this is actually a really good situation, and you really have to study and analyze what this was. And the fact that you have Byron Froese being sent down and him finally getting the call down after being in the NHL for a couple of weeks. Same with Mason Morelli. And with Mason Morelli, him being sent down was a bit puzzling until you realize who got activated from the injured reserve very recently. Now, this was not today, but yesterday, Pavel Dorofeyev returned to practice wearing a normal jersey, and he would be skating with the team. Pavel Dorofeyev would go back to being on the third line for your Vegas Golden Knights. Like I said, I'm going to break down and cover this entire starting lineup with your Vegas Golden Knights. But overall, when it comes to what we saw on this line, this is just a situation where, it made a lot of sense breaking everything down. And more importantly, when it came to what we were able to really notice with the starting lineup, Mason Morelli, he had a really good few games. He had 2 goals, his first goal in his NHL debut against San Jose a while back. Mason Morelli sent down. Now, Paul Cotter did get injured in the most recent game against Vancouver. He went down the tunnel for a bit. But the good news for Vegas is that he is healthy enough to play in this game. So Paul Cotter, he would actually be on the same line with Michael Amadio and with Brendan Bryson. So you would have Paul Cotter be on that third line, and this would actually be a situation where you kind of plug certain people in to the lineup and kind of have them work out in terms of that situation there. So, overall, this is just a good situation, a good back and forth kind of scenario there. And I will say with Paul Cotter, him being injured, I kind of thought maybe he would sit out a game, but fortunately for your Vegas Golden Knights, not only would Paul Cotter be in this game, but he actually would even have a blocked shot in this game as well. So still doing defensive work and doing well with Paul Cotter. And then the major news that came out of the pregame notes was the fact that William Carrier is now going to the long-term IR. Now, I sound like a hater and I kind of sound hypocritical when I say this, but, you have a guy, he's a misfit, he's a year-one guy, but he can't stay healthy. Like this season, William Carrier has been in the starting lineup, then he gets hurt, then he gets put on long-term IR, then he comes back, then he's in the starting lineup for a bit, then he gets hurt again, then he gets put on long-term IR. Like, this is like the second or third time this year that William Karlsson is on the IR for your Vegas Golden Knights. And, I never wish bad will on anybody in this situation. But when it comes to William Carrier, this really makes you question his stability and his sustainability moving forward with your Vegas Golden Knights, considering the fact that, this is a fourth-line winger. This is a guy who was an original misfit, but he has missed time. In net for your Vegas Golden Knights will be Adin Hill. Now, we all know the concerns about Adin Hill, what his most recent performances have been in net, but the Vegas Golden Knights are going to trust it. They're going to have him be in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. And then we're going to have to wait and see how Adin Hill would perform in this matchup and how he'd be able to really contribute and see what he can do for the Vegas Golden Knights in terms of in net and in the crease for Vegas. This is somebody who his most recent matchup, he did take some good hits in that game, and it was a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights were just outperformed and outbeaten in this matchup, and Adin Hill was in net for it. So, Vegas Golden Knights, Detroit Red Wings situation, and you have Adin Hill, who once again, like I said, he's in net. He'll be in there for Vegas, but overall, him going to be there as well. Now, the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights, line one, you have Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Jonathan Marchessault. So this line back together once again, and they did incredible in this game. I mean, they were just fantastic throughout this entire game. They did the chemistry. The fact that you had 5 assists on this line just alone is incredible. So you have Barbashev, you have Eichel, and you have Marchessault. The second line, similar to what it was in the most recent game, you have Anthony Mantha, who they acquired at the NHL trade deadline. You have Chandler Stevenson and William Karlsson. So Karlsson and Stevenson, and then you have the new guy in Mantha working on the second line. On line 3 is actually where you do see a little bit of a question mark there. You have Paul Cotter, you have Brendan Brisson, and you have Michael Amadio. So Michael Amadio, him being on the third line for Vegas, Paul Cotter, they've had some chemistry there. And then Brendan Brisson, who just got recalled from Henderson, he would be there on the third line. And then on the fourth line, I'm assuming this is because his first game back, they want to make sure that he's good and ready to go. So you have Pavel Dorofeev, and then you have, once again together, Nick Waugh and Keegan Kolesar. So you have Kolesar, Waugh, Dorofeev, Cotter, Amadio, Brisson. You have Stevenson, Karlsson, Mantha, Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault. Your defensive pairings have kind of remained the same ever since the trade for Noah Hanifin. You have Pietrangelo and Hanifin pairing 1, McNabb and Theodore pairing 2, and Haig and Whitecloud pairing 3. So your Vegas Golden Knights keeping the defensive pairings the same, helping out Adin Hill in this situation. And going to the Fortress, going to T-Mobile Arena, and kicking off this game. Really good start, by the way, as in the first period, the Vegas Golden Knights, they would actually get on the board first as welcome back Pavel Dorofeev. So Pavel Dorofeev, his 8th goal of the season, his first goal since coming back from that injury he suffered in the New York Rangers game. So welcome back into the lineup. Now, he would be assisted on this play by Chandler Stevenson and Shea Theodore, and this would open up a 1-0 situation for Vegas. And Pavel Dorofeev, I really like what we saw in this game. When it came to Chandler Stevenson, a good setup on this situation. But Pavel Dorofeev, welcome back to the lineup. This is a guy who's young, has a lot of hustle. His energy is up there in terms of his elusiveness, and his speed is a very good quality to have for Vegas. So Pavel Dorofeev, really happy to see that, and welcome back once again into the starting lineup for Pavel Dorofeev. And then you would have a penalty for Detroit as Moritz Seider. He would have a holding penalty against Jonathan Marchessault, and that would create a power play opportunity for Vegas. Now, Vegas would not capitalize on the power play. Now, it wasn't for a lack of trying, as the Vegas Golden Knights actually had a Jonathan Marchessault situation that just went wide right. It just did not connect. It went past James Reimer, and it just did not go in the back of the net. But don't worry, when it came to Jonathan Marchessault, we'll be talking about him a lot in this show. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about him right now. As about 5 minutes later, after that penalty, Jonathan Marchessault would get Vegas back on the board and make it a 2-0 game. So Vegas Golden Knights have a huge applause for Jonathan Marchessault, assisted by Jack Eichel and Noah Hanifin. So Noah Hanifin, first point as a Vegas Golden Knight. So congratulations to Noah Hanifin there. Jack Eichel with a good assist and the good setup on this play to help out Jonathan Marchessault. And we noticed in this game, it didn't matter if it was Barbashev to Marchessault, Eichel to Marchessault, Marchessault to Eichel, Eichel to Barbashev. It didn't matter what the pairing was. This line is one of the best chemistry-wise in the NHL. They're running on all cylinders. And when you have Jack Eichel and Jonathan Marchessault on the same line, it produces a lot of great situations for Vegas in the offensive zone. When you go from the neutral zone into the offensive zone, it creates a lot of really good opportunities for Vegas in this situation. Now, halfway into the first period, Vegas being up 2-0, it is actually creating and setting the tone for Vegas. But unfortunately for Vegas, about a minute left in the first period, Michael Rasmussen with his 13th goal of the season, assisted by former Vegas Golden Knight David Perron and Moritz Seider to be a 2-1 game for Vegas. Now, this is just a situation where it was just a bang-bang play. I really don't blame Adin Hill in this situation or the defense on this situation. It's just a goal that unfortunately happened. Rasmussen did get past Hill and would decrease the lead for Vegas. So it would be a 2-1 at the end of the first period. Now, getting into the second period, there would not be a lot of goal scoring, but there would be a lot of penalties in the second period for each respective team. As about 5 minutes into the second period, David Perron would get a holding penalty against Jack Eichel. So the former Vegas Golden Knight from the expansion year would go to the box for Vegas. And then about 2 minutes later, you would see a scrum. You would see two guys going at it. And I do have to complain about the NHL officials for a second about this situation. JT Compher, he goes against Jonathan Marchessault, okay? He goes and he makes a situation with Jonathan Marchessault. Jonathan Marchessault, being the pit bull that he is, he doesn't stand for it. He retaliates. He makes sure that JT Compher knows to not mess with Jonathan Marchessault. And what does the NHL officials do? Not just the fact that you pretty much saw a fight. You pretty much saw two guys going at it with each other. But more importantly, the Vegas Golden Knights would be assessed a double minor. How is that a double minor? Like, I know some people are going to say, hey, you're just being biased towards Vegas. But no, seriously, someone explain that to me. How was that a double minor, a double roughing penalty on Jonathan Marchessault? Because you had to have Marchessault go to the box, and then Paul Cotter, who they kind of use in these situations, would go into the box as well. So you would have a double minor and create a power play opportunity for the Detroit Red Wings. But, you know, the way I looked at it from that perspective, Jonathan Marchessault was in the right here. JT Compher, he caused it. He started it. Jonathan Marchessault didn't just start it. He finished it. So I don't know how the NHL officials out there in Toronto assess that a double minor when JT Compher, he starts the situation and Jonathan Marchessault proceeds to finish it. So I really don't know how it was a double minor. Somebody's going to really have to explain that to me because it made no sense at all. The fact that he was assessed a double minor in that situation. I don't get it. It makes no sense there. And then after killing off that power play for Detroit, Vegas Golden Knights being on the penalty kill, that would be their 1-for-1 at this point in the game. You would get on to the third period. Vegas would be up 2-1 still in this game at T-Mobile Arena. And unfortunately for Vegas, it would become a tie ball game as about 2 minutes into the third period, JT Compher with his 16th goal of the season, assisted by Andrew Cupp and Moritz Seider to be a 2-2 game. And when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, it really seemed like this was just a situation where Detroit kind of took advantage of some sloppy technique, and they were able to get back into the offensive zone and create an opportunity to score against Adin Hill. This is just a situation where Vegas Golden Knights were just outbeat on this play. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it just caused a situation there. So for your Vegas Golden Knights, you go on there, and it creates a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights have a problem. Now, Earlier in the third period, you would have a hooking penalty against Braden McNabb. Now, this would be a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights, they would have to be on the penalty kill, and they would kill off the Braden McNabb penalty. Good for them. But a really unfortunate situation would happen, as you would have Zach Whitecloud and Keegan Kolazar collide near the neutral zone, and Zach Whitecloud would take a while to get up, and he would go down the tunnel. And then, oddly enough, about a minute after the Kolazar-Whitecloud situation, Nick Waugh would take a very interesting hit to the boards, and then he would skate very slowly to the bench. He'd go straight down the tunnel. So hopefully there is no long-term effect. Well, no long-term effect there. But we did have to address it here. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights, halfway into the third period, the Vegas Golden Knights, they would take advantage halfway in the game, as your host's favorite player on the Vegas Golden Knights, Braden McNabb, with his third goal of the season, assisted by Brendan Bryson and Jack Eichel, to put the Vegas Golden Knights up by 1 in this situation. And I really do appreciate the fact that having Braden McNabb score in this situation, Brendan Bryson being recalled from Henderson, getting an assist on this play, and then Jack Eichel getting his second assist of the game. So really good job there. And more importantly, this was a good execution by Vegas. Now, unfortunately, Pavel Dorofeev would get a hooking penalty and would get Detroit on the power play. And unfortunately, you know, you're not seeing ghosts, but you're seeing Shane Gostisbehere, as he would get his 10th goal of the season. This would be a power play goal for Detroit, assisted by David Perron once again, and Michael Rasmussen, who scored a goal earlier in the game. That would be a tie game, 3-3, for your Vegas Golden Knights. And just like when you saw this game, you thought maybe it'd be an overtime affair, someone would step up for Vegas. Oh yes, he would step up for Vegas indeed, as you would have, for the second time in this game, a few minutes left in the third period, Jonathan Marchessault, assisted by Ivan Barbashev and Jack Eichel. So Jack Eichel with his third assist of the game. Really good job by Jack Eichel in this performance. Jonathan Marchessault, second goal of the game, and this would put Vegas up by 1 with about a few minutes left in the third period. Now, fast forward to about 2 minutes left. James Reimer would be pulled, empty net situation for Detroit. And who would execute for Vegas? Who was it that would score an empty netter for your Vegas Golden Knights? Well, if you guessed number 81, if you guessed a guy who is leading the team in goals right now, you would be correct, as Jonathan Marchessault, with his third goal of the game, executing a hat trick against Detroit, assisted by Ivan Barbashev and Noah Hanifin. So Ivan Barbashev, his third assist of the game, Noah Hanifin, his second of the game, and that would put a bow and arrow, and this would be a wrap for the Vegas Golden Knights, as your Vegas Golden Knights would pick up the victory at T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas. So really solid job. Good execution here by your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, player of the game has to go to the guy who scored a hat trick in this affair, and that is Jonathan Marchessault. 9 shots on net in this game. Wow, for Jonathan Marchessault. But 3 goals, 5, he had 3 goals, he had +3, and he even accumulated a hit and a takeaway in this game as well. So really solid job by Jonathan Marchessault. And this is your win-loss record for Vegas at this moment in time. Now, when we get to the Seattle game in a couple of days, we are going to do a recap of that show. And then the Calgary Flames matchup, we're going to break that down as well. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.